I do.
I say y'all having a good time out there. They can't, they won't, they never will stop the party. They can't, they won't, they never will stop the party. I say y'all having a good time out there. Que nobody la fiesta, don't stop the party. Que nobody la fiesta, don't stop the party. I'm from the city where they stretch, yeah, they slinky. And now I'm doing shows in Helsinki. I know what y'all thinking that you can outthink me, but you can't, frankly. I'm out for the Benjis, Frankies. Just cause you ain't me, don't hate me. As a matter of fact, you should thank me, even if you don't. You're welcome, Yankees. Zigga, 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 zow. Who got the keys to the world now? Yours truly. Blah, 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 blah. They can't, they won't, they never will stop the party. They can't, they won't, they never will stop the party. I say y'all having a good time out there. Que nobody la fiesta, don't stop the party. Que nobody la fiesta, don't stop the party.
I'ma give it to you, now give it to me, I'ma give it to you, now give it to me, I'ma give it to you, now give it to me.
Okay, welcome back. Give yourself a big round of applause for getting back on time. All right. So, before we jump into this afternoon session, because we still have some people who are trickling back in, so while we are waiting for everyone to come in, I'm going to open this up for any comments or questions from this morning's session, because we actually went through quite a lot of information, and we're just touching the surface of it. But anyone who had like a thought that came up or a follow-on question for something that happened, we've got a hand up right there on that table there. So we've got a microphone. Keep your hand up. We'll get you a mic there. And your name. Keep your hand up so we can see you. He just walked right past you. Hi. Your name is?
Hi, Roger. Ross.
Ross. Can we
Yes.
give Ross a round of applause? All right.
So something I wanted to find out from you was, when I first discovered your program, I did the Genius U test, and
Yeah.
my profile came out as Blaze.
Okay.
But when I did the Wealth Dynamics, I came out as a very strong creator.
Okay.
How do you justify that differential if they're in different energy,
Yeah.
energy
So,
spheres?
okay. So the first thing is understanding that there aren't 8 profiles. There's 12. Basically, there's introvert creators. There's extrovert creators. Introvert creators are like the type of people who are going to be the next Thomas Edison, right? Someone who is an inventor. The extroverts are like a Richard Branson, someone who actually loves to create, but with teams or people, right? Similarly with traders, right? You have external traders who actually will start up a shop or a retail, like so internal, like introvert traders who will go online and do. And similarly, we have creative supporters who are actually much more likely to be in a fast growth company as opposed to sensory supporters that then will actually have teams that are more market based, and similarly with Lords, right? So you actually got a 12 in total. What you saw is that you can actually have stronger Blaze than the Steel, or even than the Dynamo, because it's just generally that's it's like I'm just good in a people environment, or I enjoy being around people. But when you actually then look at more detail, then it actually shows, yes, while you might have more Blaze, when you actually have the balance of not so much of the tempo, then it actually shows that the creator becomes the main one. So we even have some people who end up showing up Lord but Blaze, right? Because the same thing is like I've got an I like being around people, but how I actually go about solving issues is on the Lord side, which is why it really helps to do both. Because the Blaze itself isn't going to tell you exactly what your path is. It just tells you how you might build into a team best. And it's very simple, so it's really good for kids, for example, right? So that's the answer to that question. But good question. Anyone else who had a question you wanted to ask or a comment you might have at this point? We'll take one more from the front here. Hello. And your name is?
It's Dipti.
Sorry?
Dipti.
Dipti?
Yes.
Can we give Dipti a round of applause? Hello, Dipti. Great to see some new faces also sharing. This is awesome.
So one of the things I picked up from the previous session is because in today's online technology, you're looking for a lot of content marketing, finding ways of marketing your business for potential clients, basically. And one of the things that I absolutely loved, the example that you gave was the workspaces.
Yeah.
And what I loved about it, for anybody that needs information or inspiration, go to your list, create. I love how they created a badge, went to Forbes list, told
That's
them
right. Yeah.
associated. It's brilliant. It's marketing brilliant.
Now, by the way, I want to make a really important distinction
Brilliant.
of why those things work so much better than just going out there trying to say, I'm a culture specialist and so on. The opposite. That's the opposite of content marketing. So content marketing is when you're constantly saying, what is it I need to be doing? What am I putting out there? Whereas engagement marketing is not what you're doing; it's what your customers are doing. So we've moved from content marketing to engagement marketing.
Yes.
It's no longer, and by the way, if you're on content marketing, don't be surprised if your engagement goes down. That's why people aren't opening emails anymore, right? It's like, why do I just get bombarded? Because we're living in a world of too much content now. So just sending out more content, you've got to try and shout above the noise. But people aren't looking for more content. They're looking for more belonging. They're looking for more significance. So people would much rather get engaged in something. So when you run a competition, right, when you have a badge, people go, oh, I can share this. I can tell other people about this. They'll do it for you, right? And it doesn't matter if you're Facebook. It doesn't matter if you're TripAdvisor. Their clients, their community are the people that actually create the ripple effect as opposed to the company itself needing to do that. You know it's working when your marketing cost goes down because everyone out there are the ones that are actually supporting it as opposed to you doing it instead. So
Yes.
really well picked up, but it's a really important distinction that we do. When I talked about gold dust the other day, this is something that for everyone in this room, I can look at your business and I can see why you're making it so difficult because you're chasing the business or you're sending things to people and wondering why it's not working, as opposed to doing the opposite, which is having people attracted to you and at the same time seeing, listening as opposed to speaking, right? Finding out what they want as opposed to telling them what you think they want, right? And then that's when everything starts shifting around. And this is just the next part of the wave. The waves will always keep changing, but if you go and actually try and follow any of the content marketers out there telling you go do these things, don't be surprised if it doesn't work, because that stuff was working 5 years ago. If you're in the sea and you want to go surf a wave, don't go surf the wave that other people are already surfing. It's too late to surf that wave. They got on that wave when they could get on it to surf. Now they're surfing and saying, hey, look at me, I'm surfing this wave, you come surf it too. Don't even try, it's too late, right? Get onto the next wave coming, which is all about now engagement and connection.
So
Yep.
one of the things, just to add to that, is that I like the fact that using
Can you
that
speak in the
example,
microphone? Yeah.
everybody, you take it into everyday life. People either like a Mercedes or BMW or a Porsche or whatever it is. So the way I look at things is create your brand to replicate what's already happening. So if people are going for Mercedes-Benz, find out why people are actually liking Mercedes-Benz and empower your brand with that idea in mind.
Would you all be interested in a 5-minute masterclass on how you create engagement to create viral posts? Hands up who'd like to. Okay. All right. I'll show you. This is. I'll give you 5 critical things to create viral posts, right? So here, this is why I love questions, right? We have no idea where this is going next, but this is really valuable because I've got things I'd like to share with you, but so much is what comes out here in the room as well as to what you find most valuable, right? So first of all, I'll just share my screen. So here we go. Secondly, I will go to one of the things we do, which is pretty viral, which is my album. So I just decided to set up a Facebook album. And again, you won't see this in a book anywhere because not a lot of other people kind of figured out this whole engagement marketing, how important it is, and how it shifted, right? So I'm just going to my photos. I'm going to my albums. And in my albums, I do have one album, which has pretty much gone viral. And it's the one which is called Entrepreneur Inspiration. They've got 248 posts in here. So I know many of you might have seen this already. My favorite story is to inspire an entrepreneurial journey. It's just loading, so it's a bit slow. I'll reload it there. And just to give you an idea of how do you know if something is actually going viral in the first place. Is my internet not working here right now? It is a bit slower, but it's coming. Here we go, okay. So here they all are. You would have seen some of these posts if you're following me and so on. But if we just scroll down, it's just still loading, it's just slow. But if we go down to here, you'll see, the actual number of shares. In fact, you can't see the shares here, right? But if I actually take one of these right now, let's say I take, I don't know, let's take this one here, right? And if I was to, I can take this here and I'll just link that on here, right? This kind of little trick, right? So I'll go and click on here. Facebook changes the algorithm. It shows me this. I can now get rid of this. And ta-da, here we have the post, and we can see it's been shared 408,000 times, right? So there's a lot of shares. But that's just the that's just the album that's been shared 408,000 times. If we actually go into the things that are in this, then we've got a whole bunch of things where you can see each one of them. You know, this is shared 2,700 times. This one here is 9,900 times. This one here is, you know, 3,200, 2,300, 8,500, 3,000, 4,000, like all of them, like 17,000 for this one shares, you know, right? It's something which is always going to be in the first person. And there's always a way to be in the first person. I imagine that person who is my ideal person. The reason we can get 100,000 people, you know, sharing this, which means over 1 million people actually saw it on other people's feeds, isn't because we're trying to get to 1 million people. We're just getting to one person, really, really well. So don't go out trying to get 10 or 20 or 50 customers. Just say, who's my number one ideal customer? For me, in Entrepreneur Inspiration, it's not my ideal customer being the person who's going to be joining my crystal circle and going and investing in all of our organizations, and like that's our high-level customer. It's not that person. It's the community member. Why? Because the person who has the money doesn't have the time to go out on social media and be posting things. But the people who don't have the money, they do have the time. So gone are the days when you actually have a funnel, which is like, if I can just get X number of people who come on board, they're going to tell other people, or like they're going to share and so on, and then then I'm going to get them to pay $100. And then like, if you've got online marketing, it's like, I'll have a tripwire, $27, then I'll have a $97 product, then I'll have and that's a bit like an airline saying, okay, we'll get them in economy class, and when you're in economy class, then we'll upsell them business class, then business class, we'll then to first class. That's not how it works, right? First class people don't start in economy class, they start in first class, right? So what we do is we say, let's actually be the hero, like let's go to the people that may never be our customer, but they're going to be part of our community because we care so much about them. They'll share it to their friends, and maybe it'll be one of their friends who's never shared any of our stuff, who's the person who doesn't have the time but has the money, who'll go, oh, I like this Roger Hamilton stuff, I like what Genius U's about, I'm going to go join that thing, right? And I'll pay money to do it because I want to rather save time rather than money, and I'm willing to pay the money, right? So you have a different shift in thinking, which isn't the traditional way of how it used to be even 5 years ago. So the first thing is make a hero out of everyone, so they're going, this is something I actually need to have that's going to be on my wall, so everyone else gets to see it as well, right? And then from there, first person is a conversation, and the easiest way is to basically, to get intimate with someone, is to get them to have a conversation with the person they know best. So who's the person, generally, do you think, who knows you best? It's you. So how do we do this, right? So have a look at this for the beginning of the page, right? How long does it take to create an overnight success? So like if I'm reading this, I'm like, how long does it take to create an overnight success? Oh, I don't know. How long does it take? Well, it's taking me a long time. Like, so asking a question of someone that gets them to then think, oh, okay, is actually a very, very, very powerful way of getting the conversation started. So you'll find that in many of these, not all of them, but in many of them, we're not just like blah, 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 right? We're actually saying, how resilient are you, right? Here's an amazing story of such and such, right? Or, you know, like, you know, some of them will be just like, you know, it'll be about a quote or something like that. But many of these, like this is another one, right? This one had 115,000 likes, 36,000 shares. This one ended up basically in Rolling Stone magazine. They posted this one. The one that I showed you earlier on Pokemon Go ended up on the front page of Reddit, right? So because it was shared so much, social media now becomes the media, right? The news is reporting on whoever's like, you know, getting shared the most. So, but this was the same thing. And just to give you an idea of this, as well as like, you know, who's your hero, right? It starts with a question. I'm having a conversation like I'm at dinner with my ideal person, who's someone who's really been pushing hard to be an entrepreneur, doesn't want to be doing it alone, wants their friends to know that they're an entrepreneur as well. And as a result of that first-person conversation, you then have to, you can't just be talking about anything, it has to be something which is new and unusual. So you'll notice that, like, what I'm finding is things that are new, unusual. When I wrote the story, which got over 100,000, on Pokemon Go, I'm looking for the story behind the story. It all came out Pokemon Go a year ago. It all came out, and everyone's talking about Pokemon at the time and Nintendo. And I'm like, you know what? I don't think they're the ones who actually created this. Who actually created this? I just Googled, like, founder, right? And it turned out Niantic. I was like, I'd never heard of Niantic. I looked for Niantic. It turned out that the guy who actually, like, if I just go back to it, the guy who, and it took like 10 minutes to do. That on Niantic, I looked at it and said, oh, this guy here, John Hank, he set up Niantic. Wow, he was the guy who did the first MMO. He actually went to Google, and he was the guy who actually created Google Maps. And then, as an April Fool's, he created this whole Pokemon, find a Pokemon on the map, and it just took off so much. He goes, wow, this is a real thing. So he then basically left his work of Google, created Niantic, went to Nintendo and said, do you want to do a game on this? And they're like, okay. And the next thing, they kicked it off. It took him 20 years, his journey, to have an overnight success. Brilliant story, because it's one of the top 5 things that entrepreneurs want to know, is that this takes perseverance, right? I want everyone to know that I'm really working hard on this. But that story I found out. This story here turns out what's new and unusual. The moment this actually happened, I was in Bali, and in Bali we weren't even showing the Olympics. Indonesia didn't buy the ability to watch the Olympics, so the Olympics were on. And I'm like, oh, it's the final Ian Thorpe race, right? And he's retiring. I got to watch this race. So I got onto Periscope, right? So I'm on Periscope. I'm watching this race. Okay, Ian Thorpe is getting overtaken by John Schooling. Schooling's winning. Schooling's won. Who's Schooling? Right? I'm like, who's Schooling, right? So they're getting out of the pool. I'm like Googling, who is Schooling? It's a Singaporean dude, right? I'm like, what? Singapore's never won a gold medal for anything, really? And I'm thinking, well, if he's so inspired that he can actually beat Ian Thorpe, I bet he's met him at some point. So I just Googled Schooling Thorpe, right? And sure enough, this photo comes up of the two of them 4 years earlier, right? Or like when he was a kid, where they met up and there was a hero, and then I heard the story. I was like, this is such an amazing story. I was so inspired myself, right? Because everything I'm doing is a theme with entrepreneurial inspiration. I'm so inspired by this, I just started typing. I was like, oh, I'm going to write this story. So I wrote this story, which is hey, he actually, got committed to wanting school. He met, so did I say Jason Thorpe? Michael Phelps, sorry. Michael Phelps, wrong one. Michael Phelps, he met Michael Phelps. And this amazing story I found, which was that at the London Olympics, he couldn't get the right goggles. He had the wrong goggles, so he actually was getting disqualified, so he had to change to someone else's goggles, and then he basically lost his race, so he was totally demotivated. And as he was walking, I was walking behind Phelps after my race. When he looked at me and asked what's wrong, I told him what happened, and he hugged me and said, you're only so young, you still have a long way to go, it's a learning experience, so keep your head high, just keep on moving. Again, it was his hero who motivated Joseph on, and he thought, I know that as I get older, I'll become stronger and I'll fare better beside him. Today, Joseph not only became stronger, but strong enough to win gold in Rio, clocking new Olympic record, and basically it's Michael, and this whole story with this picture of before and after just went viral. And I posted this story before they got on the medal stand, within 5 minutes. And so everyone who's like, what just happened there? They saw the story, and they just started sharing like crazy. Went out all over, the number of people following me. I mean, it's a bit unusual that I have a Facebook profile without any ability to send. You can't do ads, you can't boost a Facebook profile, but I've got 150,000 people following me because of these stories, right? And then that shares on with others as well. So what's happening here is something new and unusual, where someone goes, I want to share that with someone else. That's so cool. And then the final thing is basically always knowing that there's some combination of information and inspiration, right? So I'll have a picture which stands on its own. Even if you didn't read the story, it stands on its own. I'll have a quote which stands on its own, right? So basically, you're looking for 3 or more standalones, because different people will post it in different ways. So for example, if I go and I click on this one here, and I just say, well, look, let's look at all the people who shared, right? What are they sharing? Some people just share, and they basically just share the whole post, right? Other people will actually say, look, things like the pride of Singapore, right? Some people will actually they'll quote some of what I wrote. Some people will, tell their own story. These are heroes who are saying, I'm celebrating inspiration. I want positive news. I don't want to have negative news on my newsfeed. So I'm serving a value to all of them to do this as I go. And the biggest thing, which is the 5th one, is that your whole goal is not to try and get someone to buy stuff from you when you're going viral, because no one wants to actually go and post someone else's ad. What the big thing is to have them ask one question. Everyone who reads it is just one question. The question is, who do I need to share this with? Why? Because whoever they're going to share it with is your ideal customer. So this is what it looks like if you know you're going viral, right, in the early days. If I go back to, let's say, for example, I don't know, any of them, if I go to this one here or whatever, when you, this is the highest ones, right? So let me just go to, so this is one on Jack Ma, right? When one of his stories. So if I go to just most recent comments, if someone's asked themselves that question and answered it, because when you look at the actual comments, the comments are people. There's Billy, there's Salmon, there's Thacker, right? They're just posting their number one, thinking about everyone they know. And of everyone they know, there's one person that they need to share it with. Now, if they want to share it with everyone, they'll post it on their own wall. But someone who wants to, so like if I was to actually know Raphael, who I don't, and I was to say, like this guy here is in the Philippines, I said, okay, Raphael, if I met him, I said, Raphael, who in your network would be the ideal person if you were to recommend one person to follow me, right? He would say, Enya. Enya's the one person, right? Like here, like, you know, who would it be for Sunreal? It would be Monleo, right? So this is like the power of social media to actually be asking that question, well, who would I need to share this with? And then they're sharing it. And as you go down, the vast majority of all of these, and it's not just this one, in all of them, they're actually just sharing it with other people, and then that's the viral nature of it as well. This has nothing to do with getting anything from anybody. This has everything to do with giving enough value that people then tell other people to follow it. Now, by the way, you say, well, does this actually turn into revenues? What happens with this? Well, when people actually get to the point where they actually say, I like this so much, I'm sharing the whole thing, then they'll see this here, which is my favorite stories. We actually put it all into a book. We said, just go here and you get the book. People click on this. On this one here, people get to this page, right? You get a free copy of Entrepreneur Inspiration ebook. It's free. You get all of these stories, right? With all these stories, now you're in. And then from here, we'll get them things like the wealth dynamics, like just the videos and so on, right? 1 in 7 people who download this buy the wealth dynamics test, which means that every person who does the download for free is worth $15 to us. I mentioned that earlier, right? And that's the same for this one here as well. So as a result of this, we get about 2,500 people per week, even now. Like, which has happened for years. 2,500 people per week, which is pretty much like 400 people a day just downloading this. And out of those 400 people a day, we're getting around 50 a day who are paying us $100, right? That adds up into over $1 million just by basically giving free stuff away. So there's always a way somehow of actually creating virality without anyone actually feeling you're selling anything, because you're not. They're buying, right? So it's not about how do you actually go out and sell a product. It's how do you actually have buyers, because you're giving so much value to make that happen. Anyway, that was actually more than 5 minutes. Was that valuable? Was that valuable? Okay. All right. Awesome. So let's move on, right? Let's move on, because I wasn't even planning to do that. But let's get to the next step here, which is a conversation right here in South Africa about really taking an entire business and making it go viral. So I am going to be introducing not one but 2 people on stage, right? We have a surprise guest who's going to join us. But if you open up your brochure right now, you'll see that on the pages where we have our speakers, it is the second, third, final page of speakers here. And the person here we have, that's Maya. Maya Lavarosa Whitehead runs a company called Cash Cloud. So as it says here, Maya is a social entrepreneur creating companies that address unique needs in society. After being a stay-at-home mother of 3 young children for 6 years, Maya was unable to find employment when ready to get back in the workforce, and had to come up with creative ways to address the needs of her family after a recent divorce and despite lack of formal business training. So don't ever think you need to be qualified other than the fact that you're ready to go out there and make a difference. And what Maya has done is just super impressive, because she has built this business here, which is called Cash Cloud. We are seeing a massive transformation in the entire fintech area in terms of how people can get access to funds without having to go to a bank. Maya is creating a solution which is just growing all over Africa right now. And as well as inviting Maya on stage, I'm going to invite the person who invited Maya to be here. Her name is Hilda Lunderstedt, and Hilda has been part of our network for many years now. Hilda herself, a successful entrepreneur here in South Africa. She built her beauty business. She sold it off, didn't ever have to work again, decided that she was going to be a mentor to others, and decided to focus specifically at South African businesses that were transforming the way that we all could go out there and make a transformation within our businesses, both for women leaders and also for entrepreneurs all over South Africa. And I thought, hey, because we're going to be hearing all about Maya, we should definitely bring Hilda up as well, so we can just see how, like I said the other day, our future is being led by incredible women leaders. Can we please give the 2 of them a big round of applause? And please come and join us up on stage. All right. Okay. We're going to have a conversation. And you can be asking questions as well. Hello. Good to see you again. Hiya. Hi. Okay. Grab a seat. I'll sit here. Hilda, I'll actually start with you. I'll start with you because you...
healthcare, not beauty.
Did I say beauty? Yes. Oh, okay. Healthcare, beauty. Okay. Could you share... first of all, the steps that happened after selling your business and leading you to then invest in Maya's business? Because there's a few steps along the way.
So, yeah, there's many steps. I'll try and keep it. So I did then build a beauty business, which we thought was building the biggest beauty franchise business, and being in that creative profile, the minute the brand's done and it gets a bit boring, so then I move on. And I think a conversation with you about a year ago, you told me, probably longer, Hilda, realize it's for you, it's not about investments, it's about making impact.
Yes.
And that changed a lot. And just find your criteria of impact. And that changed my whole world in what I'm investing in. And I really it took a while to just exit the things that wasn't impactful enough and to make space for the
Because you had
things.
loads of opportunities coming your way, so it's like, what do I do?
It was like just going, and that you're like you're all over the show, and I can just see every opportunity and how we're going to make it happen. So I think my first real impact business was Wealth Migrate, my friend Scott over there. I think we talked about Wealth Migrate when crowdfunding wasn't even a word. We would talk to people and they would say, what? Can you remember, Scott? Remember those days when... And that was the big impact business. And then that journey led to... So Wealth Migrate's big impact is making a difference to 1 billion people in the world through real estate. And then through Maya, it almost connected the dots, because if you want to get to the 1 billion people, you got to get them into some sort of formal economy. And since I've been in Abundance with you, we've been at Singularity. So I spent the last 3 years...
So I just want to pause everyone. So these are programs in America, and this is one of the biggest things that you'll notice for anyone who's getting started. There's this kind of idea which is like you got to hold on to everything yourself, but it doesn't work that way. The higher you go, the more you share with each other as well. So I invited Scott to Necker Island. Scott came there, met Richard Branson, got a whole bunch of great contacts. That's really helped support him grow. He also basically got involved with Sinclair University, which is set up by Peter Demandis. And then same thing, with yourself. You headed up Singularity, and then we went to Abundance 360, which is another program that we had to fly all the way out to LA to be a part of, and that was earlier this year, and that's run by Peter Demandis as well. So as much as possible, if there's someone in our community and there's someone else that it makes sense to get connected up, then we'll do that too. And that's kind of like how the whole journey has grown as well.
Yeah. So I spend my time finding out what is impact, who's making the impact. And I think that was your question, is how do you get to here? So right now, although I came from healthcare, I did realize you will never be healthy if you don't have finances, because everything leads back to bad health. So over the last I was saying to Leon earlier on, I've got my 50-year map planned, and the future of business digitization and forming a platform. And that's why I love this business. I'm so passionate about it. I'm putting a lot of energy with Maya into creating my impact for the future.
Awesome. So how did the two of you meet, first of all? How did you meet up with Hilda?
Well, interesting that you asked that. And I'll start with the first tip I learned yesterday. The accent is from Bulgaria.
Bulgaria.
So we met up at an event very similar to this one, where I went as a young entrepreneur trying to learn ideas, how to do my business. As I said, I don't have formal education, so any tips were welcome. And I met Hilda there, and we got to talk, and her investment aims aligned with our
Very cool
targets. And
can we put the slide back on? And I'd love for you to share with everyone, what is Cash Cloud? How does it work?
Okay. What Cash Cloud is, it's providing bank accounts for people that can't open accounts in the traditional banking.
Okay.
So this is for your foreign workers, migrant workers. We've got a lot of people that live in locations, they don't really have proof of residence, they don't have an address, and that prevents them from opening a bank account. Now, if they don't have a bank account, they can't get a job, because if you don't have a electronic means of payment, the employers don't want to pay you cash.
So it's a catch-22.
Yes,
like
so it keeps people uneducated, it keeps them unemployed, it keeps them in a cycle of poverty.
So it's almost like you're the bank for the unbanked,
yes,
right?
That's right.
And so like this whole element of the card allows people to put transactions through it?
Yes,
Yeah.
it works just like a normal bank account. You can transact, you've got cell phone banking, you've got internet banking, it's mobile.
Yeah.
So people in areas where there's no electricity or services can still get to do their payments, purchase their airtime, electricity, and so on. So it's really bringing them into the formal economy, and it creates a client for every other industry, because once this person is banked, you can now sell him other services, you can do insurance, and so on.
And we can go back to the video so everyone gets an idea of how it works. How long ago was it that you got started, and what was it that inspired you to say this is what you want to be doing?
Okay. most of my businesses were born out of need. So I'm not an inspirational or a very intelligent person. I just faced challenges that were not provided for. So being Bulgarian, I came to South Africa 18 years ago, and for the first 8 years, I did not have a bank account. So I earned, I studied, I had my own business, and I still had to use other people for accounts. So once I solved the problem for myself, I opened 3 restaurants. And I said, cool, so now I can go into business and grow. And then my employees didn't have bank accounts. So I was sitting in the same situation where I had solved it for myself, but the problem didn't go away because there was people around
Right.
that were facing the same problem.
Yeah.
So then I was looking around for solutions and ideas, and there was nothing happening. And the years were going by, and there was still no solutions. So I just tried and said, let me see what I can do. I had a lot of spare time on my hands with my 2 restaurants being established, and I started making inquiries and met with Visa, MasterCard, some banks, and we put the product together almost, as a tryout and a test. And then my first clients were all my employees, and then all my fellow Bulgarians that were in South Africa and were unbanked. And from then on, it just started growing now.
So you,
Our main clients
partnered
are,
up,
yeah.
You partnered up with the card companies?
I partnered up with Visa and MasterCard.
Okay, all right.
Yes.
Was that easy to do? Was that difficult?
It seemed easy at the time because I didn't realize how hard it is. So, there's a saying that if you don't know something is
Right.
impossible, you
Yeah,
kind of go
sure.
for it. So now, in retrospective, I understand all the strange looks from the bankers
Right.
and Visa people, and like, what do you think you are doing? I said, well, that's all I want to do. I just want to provide banking for
Yeah.
these people.
Yeah.
They said, well, okay, we'll go for it.
Right.
Because they expected us to fail, and
Okay.
then we didn't. So then we established our relationships with the banks, and we figured out that, who is a suitable partner and who isn't. We've
Yeah.
been through 3 banks and bought Visa and MasterCard, and we're now with the right partners and growing exponentially.
So tell us about what it looks like today. Like how many people are on the platform? How many
We've
are
got
coming?
over 23,000 clients.
Okay.
Our main corporate clients are farming, construction, hospitality,
So they can pay all
labor
their employees,
brokers,
that kind of-
everybody
yeah.
who employs youth
Yeah.
or unskilled labor or migrant workers or seasonal workers. And the situation with South Africa with crime is quite acute. So a lot of business owners face the risk of paying cash to the employees. So
Yeah.
they would have to go to the bank, draw the wages, go to their office, pay on site. They face the risks of being mugged on the way from the bank. And then once they pay the wages, then the risk passes on to your workers because they can get mugged on the way home and lose the entire salary. And the bank card was just the beginning. We've now rolled out micro-lending, so our clients have access to small credits. They will have access to funeral plans, medical insurance, and we're doing something in cryptocurrency for remittances in the future, yeah.
I want Ismania to tell the story about the first loan we did, and the guy was able to buy a house.
Yes,
So-
yes. It's very funny because the micro-lending came about from our farming clients. So the farm owner said, well, guys, can't you do a credit because my guys need 5,000 rand to build a house? And I said, how can you build a house with 5,000 rand? That's impossible. They said, well, that's really all they need, but they are unbanked, so they can't get a loan. So we went and we looked at a micro-lending company. We scouted a few companies, and we found the right partner, and now we partnered up with them, and all the farm workers got loans up to 8,000 rand, so they can actually buy a house and build a house and pay for some education for their children. So it's very
Wow.
satisfactory business.
Yeah. You're almost doing it the other way around. I mean, because a lot of microfinancing goes out and then they've got to figure out how to do it,
Yes.
whereas you're going out the other way around, getting
Yeah.
them the account first.
I think if we create the platform and bring these people into the formal economy, because they're really sitting in the gray now, they have no access to services and so
Yeah.
on. If we create the platform, there will be a lot of enhancement to these people's lives.
So your vision of where you want to go, we're going to open this up for questions in a moment. What's your vision of what this is going to look like 5-10 years from now?
Okay. My vision is to have the first global virtual bank where people from anywhere in the world can bank, pay, deposit, withdraw at any time of the day to anyone, anywhere in the world.
Yeah.
That is our vision.
Yeah. And in that, as you're doing that, how does digital currency fit into it? Are you creating your own currency? You're going to be using...
We are. It's a long story, and I also had to do very fast learning, like Scott down there.
Yeah, everyone
in the
has to
last
do
8
fast learning
months,
right now.
fast
Yeah.
learning. Basically, in our quest to create, you see, with the migrant workers and me being a foreigner, I experienced all those challenges firsthand, and I think this is why we've been successful, because a lot of people from tech and from banking come with very clever ideas and great financial models, but they don't work because these people never experienced the problem firsthand.
Yeah.
Now, I experienced that problem myself, so I know what a client needs when they go out with those needs. So when we looked, how can we enable remittances? How can we enable cheap payment? How can we enable fast payment? The only way to do that is cryptocurrency. So we were led there from our core business. We figured out cryptocurrency is the only way to go. Now, which cryptocurrency? Is it going to be Bitcoin? Is it going to be our own thing? And as we're learning, we worked off the originals. So we've worked on blockchain technology, Bitcoin technology, and eventually we'll branch off with our own coin, which we will customize to our purposes, but it will be underwritten by the technology that's got the track record.
Got it. Yeah, yeah, totally makes sense. And what would you add to the vision? That whole idea of having a virtual bank that's global?
So statistically, if you just look at the Mexican, US, if you can bring the fees down to just 5%, you free up $21 billion to the economy. So if you look at South Africa to Zimbabwe fees, 40%, so every 100, so you bring 40% down to 5%, and that will just be the impact, and then creating that platform. The next people would want to do is they want to be educated, they want to have better healthcare, and then you uplift the whole world through that. And then, so my role is now I see it as to look at the global opportunities and set this bank up for global, because everywhere has the same problems. And once we have, and that we'll have 1 billion people on the platform, we can 3D print their houses, we can have cash cloud clinics everywhere in the world, and we can bring them into any service that market would need in the future. And that's what I think my role would be, is just to guide Maya through all of that. We have weekly meetings where we talk and discuss, and awesome, she listens. I think she goes and does, and that is really awesome. And an example of that is I was talking to like a 20-year-old coder or something in San Francisco. And he said to me, I said to him about the bank, he said, and one of the problems is FICA, and he said, well, he knows this one and that one, and they map the planet, 3 by 3, and I phoned her and said, we've got a solution. She's already mapped it into our product, so we can now literally map your home address wherever you are in the world.
Yeah.
That's just nice of the stuff, how we can work together to find solutions.
Yeah. I want to share just an observation around like how one thing leads to another, and we'll open this up for questions as well, and how that's happening with what you're doing too. If anyone is interested in this, you can go to YouTube. You can search me with Muhammad Yunus. There's a video that we did there. Yeah, and basically I was very curious, right? Because we had a chance to sit down and have a chat about like his Grameen Bank and how that grew. And I said, what were the most surprising things that you learned by actually setting up Grameen Bank? He said the first thing was realizing very quickly that women are far more reliable when they take out a microloan than men, and they actually went for a period where they only actually loaned to women, which is quite astounding, but basically they were the ones that were driving the whole economy. So there was a whole element about women empowerment, which actually comes with microfinancing if it's done in the right way. The second thing they found was, whereas a lot of microfinancing companies were having a challenge with trust, it's like you give it to people and they don't actually then give it back, which wasn't because they didn't want to give it back, they just weren't educated enough to figure out how to use the money properly. So they started creating village groups, and they would have their own representative in the village groups. And if you had a loan, you'd show up at the village group, and they found, exactly as you say, education was actually what made the difference, because then the trust was so much higher. And if one person in the group wasn't paying back, the rest of the group said, hey, look, what do we need to do? Because you're going to affect all of us if we don't get this paid back. So then it was about the community that got created, so it wasn't even about the bank anymore. And then the third thing was when he realized that when they gave this education, the vast majority were net depositors, not net creditors, which meant that they didn't have loans, they actually had deposits in the banks. So Grameen Bank's meant to be microfinancing, but everyone's positive. They're not negative, right? So it's like, wow, okay, so there's actually about they're using this as a way to be educated, which is so different from most banks that actually want to keep you in debt so that they can actually make money off the interest, you know?
Well,
Which
we definitely want to change that.
yeah,
And we're serving, there's 800 million people unbanked in Africa.
yes.
There's
Huge,
3
right?
billion people unbanked in the world.
Yeah, yeah. Let's open this up for any questions you have, because we have a number of things that are happening here. One is a homegrown South African company funded by South African investors, women leadership, supporting women leadership, and then also the whole disruption in the banking system that we're hearing about, which will mean the end of banks. We have a hand up here, so we'll start with yourself, and then we'll come around this way.
How does this affect online shopping? So basically, I own an online store. How can I get payment online?
Okay,
Using this
it affects it hugely because most of the South African banks, when they open accounts for the likes of our clients, they would be at the bottom of the pyramid with the most basic savings account, which has no online facilities or international use. So even a person that has a ABSA or an FNB savings account can't really go and shop online. With our cards, people can shop online. So now your shop would be opened up to so many more clients if they are Cash Cloud clients.
Okay, cool.
So you could, for example, have a link on your shop, and if somebody is there and say, oh, but I don't have credit card, I can't shop here, so you can tell them, well, go get a Cash Cloud card, and then you can shop here.
Do you already have something like that available, or?
It would be just a link inserted into your website. It's pretty simple to do, and we've got tech team that can assist with that.
So it's already available?
Yes.
Okay.
Very cool. All right. Who else has a question you'd like to ask? Got a hand up at the back over there, and then we'll come forward.
Yeah, thank you. That's a really interesting concept. Is that just personal banking, or is it also business banking?
It's only personal banking at the moment. We do have corporate solution for corporate clients that have large employee bases, like the farmers and the construction. So what we would do is we do free salary administration for any company that pays their people on Cash Cloud cards. So it's a value-added service to our corporates. If you have 100 people that work for you and you are paying cash, we can convert that to electronic payments, and now you won't have to do 100 payments or draw and pay 100 pay packets. You would make one EFT to Cash Cloud, and all your salaries will be distributed free of cost.
I was just kind of thinking, because it's very easy to start a business in any country, but it's not always so easy to open the bank account to support the business in that territory if you haven't got proof of address or et cetera, et cetera.
That's where we assist, but for individual accounts, not business accounts.
Okay, thank you.
Yet.
Thank you very much. We have we'll come forward. So we've got a hand up. Bring the microphone to the front there. Thanks very much. And we'll just move, and then we'll come to Sandras next, so you can give Sandras a microphone as well.
Thank you. I just want to find out if you can already deposit your cryptocurrencies, or are you looking forward to that, or are you going to have something else?
Okay, we do have cell phone banking and internet banking facilities attached to our cards. So what we're working on currently with the cryptocurrency is creating a link that you can access from your cell phone banking. So now currently you've got purchase prepaid airtime, check your balance, get a loan. Soon we're going to add a link which will say, buy Bitcoin or remit money, and that will be as a touch of a button from your cell phone banking. We take into account the Africanization. As we said, not many of our clients have access to smartphones, so we've created a USSD code, plus the internet banking and mobile app that we'll be launching in February. So even the lowers, LSM, and the people with very little funds will be able to benefit from that. They will have access to it.
Okay, thank you.
A large part of what's happening with cryptocurrencies is, frankly, people just don't trust their government currencies anymore. So they're just trying to get it into something else, and that's why Bitcoin goes up and so on. And so yes, there's speculators, but there's other people thinking, I'm going to keep it in here even if it drops by 50% and goes up again, because it's just a better place in the long term to have the money. And the challenge with that is you've got to go and set up an actual trading account almost to do it. There's no easy way, and banks are going to be a long time before they allow you to have multiple currency accounts, because they don't make any money off the digital currency. So you're in a perfect position to make it really easy for someone to say, well, I don't want my money in rand, I don't want it in US dollars either. I'd much rather it's in a currency that's not restricted by the governments, but which actually allows me to kind of park it and then use it later, or even pay for other things in a.
It's also a great savings method for our clients, because not everyone can get into investments. You know, they have 50 rand a month or 100 rand a month. What do you do with that money? Nobody will take it. And another thing that we've noticed about our clients, they are very savvy. Because they've got limited resources, they are using only cutting-edge technologies, like what you spoke about yesterday. Our clients don't email us. They don't phone the office. We've got a WhatsApp helpline call center.
Right.
Everyone is on WhatsApp. We've got agents that deal with clients' queries on WhatsApp, via Facebook Messenger, and SMSs, confirmation, policy numbers, everything goes out to SMSs. So, you know, they are already, they are very underestimated by the commercial bank, saying, oh, those people are poor, they don't have much money, they don't even know how this works, you know, we can't be wasting our time because it's too expensive to acquire them and so on. But those guys are very savvy. They actually, they're catching on technology much faster than the mainstream because they have to. It's more efficient and it's cheaper.
Awesome. Yeah, Sandras, final question.
Hi, Maya and Hilda. My name is Sandras, by the way, Africa Trust Academy. And I really love what you're doing. And we met briefly, but what you're doing is really, really incredible. And it fits in very well with what drives me. For the work that I've been doing with Africa Trust Academy, we've been doing a lot of work in different areas like leadership, entrepreneurship, development, and personal finance. But the one that makes the biggest difference for me and the clients, and the one which has really taken off, has been the financial education, where the reinvention and cutting out the stuff that's not working, of taking out everything else and just focusing on that. And being to the MasterCard Foundation Symposium on Financial Inclusion, you find that all that work and what you're doing fits in very well. And my challenge as a star has always been, I get into creator mode. So when I didn't find a solution that would work for the unbanked, I did the whole prototype, a pitch, and people wanted to fund that. But then I put it on hold because I was getting out of flow again. And last night, my mind was buzzing from what Roger said and everybody saying, okay, I'm still sticking my lane, which is star. I'll just look for people to work with where I can add value, because we have the education aspect that then we say, look, this is where you can add, this is what you can do. So I totally love what you're doing. And my question would be, are you looking at group savings as well? Because we find that a lot of there are stock fails here in South Africa, and the work we're doing in Zambia also is women group savings around that. Are you looking at that?
We're looking into that. The time, it takes very long to get the proper certification and regulation in place. So what we get slow, that's the only thing that's slowing us down now, but we're looking to provide a full solution. In my personal opinion, banks are not going to be around for much longer. 10 to 15 years, you know, I don't think we'll be banking as such, but we will always be paying. There will be a transaction and there will be change of value. It may not be money, it may not be banking, but there will be a medium where we have to, you know, remunerate each other for services and products. So we need to, when we're saying global virtual bank, it's more of a global virtual payment solution. It may not be a bank.
Yeah, I think that's a really important point.
It's a very important point.
You say, well, how do banks make money? And they make money off basically other people's inability to get the money, all right? Which is not what you're doing, the opposite, which is actually making it fully distributed so everyone can get to the money.
I just want to add to that question. So we had a lot of, because the migration of people is, I have a bank account, I want to save. I was thinking it was going to happen next year. But within weeks, people are phoning and say, where can I save? Right. So I start phoning people in the financial, and everybody says it's impossible. Because I said, I don't want to pay fees. And it's like, you have to have a minimum. It's all the old school thinking. And if you want to disrupt, you can't even go. And it's all this, it's impossible to get poor people to save. And I phoned Maya and I said, we're going to do it ourselves. So we're in the process. I'm not going to use the old school. So we're looking for those solutions, which is coming. It's being programmed at the moment.
Awesome. Yeah. So I'm going to finish with a question. Yesterday we had Scott up here. Yes. He talked about wealthy coin, right? The idea of like a coin which is like backed by property, right?
Sounds amazing.
And then he's looking for that kind of like connection to like for the wealth effect to take place to those who don't actually have the ability to access the market.
Yes.
Have you guys already been speaking about...
We have connected,
have?
yes. We will be speaking
Because
later
imagine
on.
that, right? I mean, like, without having to worry yet about what coin you want to create,
of course.
already saying, well, what these coins about to have its ICO is, to say straight away, hey, we've got 23,000 by partnership with CashCloud already, 23,000 accounts which have direct ability to move, like, 1 rand into one wealthy coin, and then that means they've actually got ownership in a property now, and then everyone can then actually start building up the ladder and having that. Like, everyone wins both sides when you create that.
It's a great investment opportunity
That's
for our clients because we could aggregate. Yeah.
I've been asking the guys for how many.
Have you now?
You guys need to catch up now. Okay.
I think it's like so awesome how, like, Hilda wouldn't have known when she got involved in Wealth Migrate. It would have led to then CashCloud, which then could lead to a revolution in the whole way that the unbanked in Africa then get and there's no way I would have known when I first met Scott that he would then, and this is the power of all of it. It's about the magic of the journey itself, that these ripple effects are things you can't predict. But if there's no wrong time to do the right thing. Like, if you're constantly focusing at the right way that you're going, this is the magic. This is why I get so excited. So I want to say a huge thank you to both of you for being up here and sharing your story and inspiring all of us. Can we please give them a big round of applause as well? Thank you, guys. Awesome. All right. Take a moment. Share with the person next to you. What did you get out of that exchange? What have you got thinking about now? Can we get...
Feeling my way through the darkness, guided by a beating heart. I can't tell where the journey will end, but I know where to start. They tell me I'm too young to understand. They say I'm caught up in a dream. Well, life will pass me by if I don't open up my eyes. So that's fine by me. So wake me up when it's all over, when I'm wiser and I'm older. All this time I was finding myself and I didn't know I was lost. So wake me up when it's all over, when I'm wiser and I'm older. All this time I was finding myself and I didn't know I was lost.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for sharing. So I am going to take you through another wave before we get to the break, and we also have another guest I'm going to be sharing as well before we break as well. But let me first of all just share how this wave links to everything else we've been talking about so far, because we've all heard about just how much like robots are coming and taking our jobs. So this is all about the robot revolution and what it is we need to be thinking about or doing differently as entrepreneurs, given that this is an inevitability now. So robot revolution is all about something called the Internet of Things. It's more than just like a robot that's walking and standing and running around. It's about things that move. It's about drones. It's about driverless cars. It's basically the fact that intelligence is moving beyond just getting connected to the internet, and we have sensors that are actually being, creating an intelligent layer over everything. The number of projected devices that are going to be speaking to each other on the Internet of Things is going to be over 50 billion by 2020. Now think about that. There's only 7 billion people on the planet. The most we could ever get connected in terms of humans on the planet is 7 billion people. We're not even going to be at that by 2020. We're going to have something by a multiplier of 8 to 10 times that in terms of actually sensors that are out there. So the Internet of Things is far bigger than the Internet of Humans. And this is something which is already overtaken. There's already over 7 billion of these that are actually connected. So it's invisible. You don't see it, but they're already out there connecting with each other, creating this intelligent layer on everything that we do. In terms of how this then actually links up to everything we do as well, have a look at this little video.
Fulfillment centers would hover at an altitude of 45,000 feet and be the focal point of a network of unmanned aerial vehicles.
This is Amazon in the future.
The self-driving airships would carry a cargo of Amazon products and unmanned drones to deliver goods to customers. According to a patent filed by Amazon, the drones would navigate horizontally to their destination and would use little to no power.
So basically, they're just going to have floating...
airships would be replenished by smaller unmanned service vehicles, which could carry workers, drones, fuel, and inventory. One potential use of the airships could be for large events, such as concerts or football games, where they could be used to deliver souvenirs or food.
So if you think about just like how much the guys that are at the forefront of tech are already thinking, we don't have to actually go and find a place, we just have them flying in the air. All right, and so we're living in a very, very different world where there are so many opportunities. At the same time, there appear to be so many threats as well, and it's about just which way you're looking at those two as we're moving forward too. So this whole idea of the fact that we are seeing the need for humans to do all these different jobs is moving so rapidly. 10 million self-driving cars will hit the road by 2020. Like when this was actually announced about a year or two ago, people were like, no, that can't be true. Now we're seeing how fast it's actually moving at the moment. It's quite unbelievable just how quickly we're seeing this shift happen. There's all of these different stories out there now about like robots stealing our jobs, rethinking welfare if robots take our jobs. While on the one hand, we're talking about different things we could do to kind of like protect ourselves, or the fundamental thing we need to do is educate ourselves. And the reason for that is because too many kids today are being educated based on being a robot. I mean, the 3 biggest things we learn at school: memorization, robots beat us already, internet beats us already, they can always remember everything instead of us trying to remember and then forget. Number 2, calculation, right? It's like do exams on maths and so on. Robots are always going to beat us already. Machines are already going to beat us like 10 times over or 1,000 times over. And the third thing is literacy in terms of communication. We already know that with the internet, we actually communicate at a whole different level already, and we're not using any of those tools in a way that they show up in terms of, are we actually able to harness that technology? So this really brings us back down to why we even do all of this. Because the most fundamental thing here is realizing that to be able to live in this new world of artificial intelligence or of robots is not going to be by us being more like machines. It's going to be by us being more like humans. And there is a concept, which is actually the reason that I got into being an entrepreneur in the first place instead of being an architect, which I came across when I was in architecture school. And it was one of the architects, his name was Buckminster Fuller, and I read all about him and who he was, and he created the geodesic dome, and he did all these different structures. And then I came across a concept he had called the final exam. And it was that concept which made me shift everything I was doing from kind of like, hey, let's go out and build these machines for living in, and to, no, we actually need to really understand how we as humans are going to grow. Because what he said in the final exam is he said that, and he said this in the 1970s, before the internet, he said that there was already enough technology in the world to solve all the world's problems. He was able to say that all the world's biggest challenges were distribution challenges. It's not that we don't have enough food, it's just not distributed evenly, right? It's not that we don't have enough money, which is why we have poverty, it's because it's not distributed evenly. It's not like we don't have enough education to educate everyone, but the reason we have so many people that aren't educated is, again, it wasn't distributed evenly. Technology allows you to distribute more effectively, so we should be able to solve all the world's problems. So why haven't we? And he said the reason we haven't isn't because of our technology, it's because of our human consciousness. Our human consciousness has not accelerated up to catch up with the technology to harness it. That's why we're all infighting and finding ways to basically hold on to things that we don't need to hold on to anymore. And so he said that this is the final exam. The final exam is the one in which we have to be focusing not at technology, which is going to continue to exponentially grow whether we like it or not. We need to focus at improving or growing our own consciousness. Because if we do that, we'll get to a point where we'll pass the exam, because our consciousness will rise to the point where we can actually harness that technology effectively and we can solve all the world's problems. We will fail the exam if we don't catch up, because the inevitable outcome of that is technology will then destroy us, which is why it's the final exam. There aren't any others after this. So that really, at 19 years old, got me on a mission in my life, which is how can I help raise consciousness? And entrepreneurship is the number one way to do it, because it allows us to actually see the results of whatever our consciousness is, because there's no better mirror. And so this here is basically these 9 steps of consciousness that allow us to actually walk from one step up to the next as well. So when you think about the robot revolution and going forward, it's like, how do I become a more human leader? This has something to do with like, how self-aware am I on where I'm at, where I need to go next, and how I'm connecting to other people to do the same thing as well, right? You link together the 8, which are the 8 different profiles, into, we can call it an octave. You put that onto these 9, you end up with an entire piano range, and you've got the entire picture of all music and all light that actually we all are a part of, which is why it's part of the lighthouse. I'm going to share with you the reason that this can all make so much sense, and we still get it wrong. And the reason is because we're all holding on to something. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to basically share with you what you are currently holding on to, which is the reason that even though this all makes sense, if you're at yellow level, it's so difficult getting to green. If you're at red level, it's so difficult getting to orange. It's like there's something right now that you've got to let go of, which will allow you to move forward. First of all, let me just share with you, if I look at the slides here, get the slides up, if I share with you the fact that all of the steps within the spectrum levels, and these are up here as well, right? Later on today, you can come up, take photos. It's got all the information here to say, how would I go from yellow to green? It says, well, here's my measure, positive cash flow from mastering your market. That's what you get being at this level. That's why you know you're working. Emotions, self-reliance, attraction, limitation. I can't get any further. Benefit of staying here. Freedom, flexibility, self-indulgence. You get payoff for being here, right? It's like I get this freedom. I don't have to shop at the office and actually be at the finance meeting. I can just chill out on the beach, right? So you got to give up some of that to go do that. It's like, oh, that's why I'm staying here. Cost of staying here, limited growth, limited impact, isolation. It's like, I don't want to have those things. So I get there's a positive and negative in each one of these. What's the focus I need to move up? Rhythm and mastery. That means that I've got to actually be the drummer and let everyone get into flow as opposed to me being the one trying to do everything. How did I get here? These things, resourcefulness, resilience, stubbornness. How do I stay here? These are the 3 steps to stay at that point. How do I move up? Establish your enterprise, refine your rhythm, synchronize your steps. There's very specific steps at each one, which is why it's possible when I can say you can move from one to the other within 3 months just by following the steps, which we see again and again. So within each of these here, when you go onto Genius U, these are all free resources. You're going to find information which allows you to see someone at infrared level, what it is that they're at, what they need to do differently. Totally different things you need to do. Measure your money, commit to conduct, right? Very specific things that allow you to move up. Then you move to red level, which is like, right, I'm treading water, I'm not drowning anymore. Okay, I bought my time. Now, how do I actually go from buying my time, where I now am making money helping someone else, to then actually grow from that? That then leads you to the orange level. Okay, now I've got positive cash flow. So now I've actually earned the right to be part of a team. I learned how to swim, which means that I can get on a crew, because crews will only take on people who actually can swim. So now I've learned how to swim, I'm in a crew, I'm on a ship, I've got a boat that I'm working on, I can create my own boat, right? So now you're at like going from dependence to independence, right? And then from independence, you can go to interdependence, which is now I've got everyone doing one thing as opposed to one person doing all things. So each one of these is a step-by-step that allows you to move to the next level. And then from that green, you get to blue, where now you've earned the right to actually have other performers. Conductors don't even face the audience. Conductors turn around, they face their performance, right? And it's a whole different energy where you need to earn the right to do that. If you say, I'm just going to have these great people work for me, but you're at yellow level, green level people will never want to work with you, right? Because they see that you're off just doing your thing as opposed to you helping them. Instead of you asking at yellow level, how do I make money? At green level, everyone's asking, how can I help someone else make money? It's all opposite of each other at every step. You can get it intellectually. And again, you can go on this journey with me or with our group and the things we do to say, right, this next year, I'm going to make those things happen. But what I want to focus at today is not that there's a path. I want to focus at the reason so many people don't take the path. And it's because there's something you're holding on to. Hands up, who would like to know what you're holding on to right now? Who would like to know that? This is always a very, very aha moment for people, all right? So I'm going to give you a chance to like digest this. Flow is always sabotaged by your need to hold on to something. Why? Because flow happens when you let go. Like think about it. If you're in a river and you drop a leaf in the river, what happens? The leaf always goes to the flow, right? Because it's not trying to hold on to anything. You drop a human in the river, what happens? They hold on to a rock. It's like, oh, there might be a waterfall ahead. Quick, hold on to the rock. So you're holding on to something. It's like, how do I get the flow? It's like, well, just let go. It's like, no, I don't want to let go. This is really important to me, right? I don't want to let go. It's like, so you end up always holding on to the wrong thing. I'm just going to walk through what it is that each person is holding on to. Each of you know where you are in the spectrum levels, or at least you've got a pretty good guess if you haven't done the test yet. Here is the reason that we have this zigzag here at the moment. Let me get my zigzag. I think my batteries are going. Here we go. All right. So if you're at the point where you are infrared level, I can guarantee you the anchor that will stop someone who's at negative cash flow from ever getting out is something called your big idea? Number of people come up to me, Roger, I've got this idea, it's going to make billions of dollars. It's going to like change the world. I actually had someone in Johannesburg last year, I remember it very vividly, right? He came up and he's like, you know, Roger, I heard you say this thing about people holding on to their big idea, but you haven't heard mine. Really? He goes, yeah. Well, what's your big idea? Because my whole point is like, whatever your big idea is, someone else is already doing it. No, but this is different. So what is it? Well, I have an idea of having a center where entrepreneurs can come and learn how to be a better entrepreneur. I just got to go raise the money to do this thing, right? Because no one's done it, and I want to be able to do this thing, but like, no one wants to give me the money. I said, oh, is this a bit like, you know, the like Richard Branson's Center for Entrepreneurship? Is it kind of like that? And he goes, no, that guy has no idea what he's doing. I was like, what? So what happens? Now, why would someone hold on to your big idea if you're at an infrared level? Surely you know it's not making money right now. No, because we're linking it to something called self-worth. And if you're at an infrared level, you don't have connection, which is where most people start getting self-worth. So where else are you going to get it? Connection to your own thinking. Which is like, so I will have some, and what's important here is that you are validating your self-worth. We all need self-worth. That's what makes us human. So what gives someone at infrared level self-worth? Someone likes their idea. If someone comes to me and they say to me, hey, Roger, I've got this really, really good idea. It's probably the best idea you've ever heard, right? If that happens to me and I can see they're infrared level, I've got two choices. Either I can be honest with them to say, you know what, I think you're better off going and working with someone else and actually getting some cash flow first, because that's going to help them get cash flow. Or I can just like avoid the argument, because it will be an argument if I say, well, you know what, that may be not the best thing to do with your time, and instead do what they want me to do, which is to validate the idea. Because when they go to bed at night, they're not thinking, did I get money today? They're thinking, did people like my idea? And if I was to say, that's a really great idea, they'll go home and say, Roger liked my idea, that's super awesome. It's not paying the bills, but it makes you feel better about it, which is why you're holding on to the same idea for years and years, because it's what gives you self-worth. But that's the rock which will stop you moving forward. The moment you get that, it's like, difficult to let go, because it's always difficult to let go, but I have to let go. What can I hold on to instead? The answer is, at red level, holding on to the most important thing is the ability to serve, or the experience to serve. Right? Why the experience to serve? I'll have someone who says, well, what should I do if I'm not working my idea? Hey, come work with us on our event. Come work with this person here who's got this. Okay, sure. They show up for the day to do that. They have validation from people around them. Hey, thanks so much for helping me on that. That was really awesome the way you did that. Like, I really appreciate your help. They're like, I love today. This was awesome. You're basically feeling like you're worthy, right? Because you had all these people now give you feedback because you got into flow. And so that person's like, this is brilliant, right? This is fantastic. What about your idea? I'll forget about the idea. I'll come back to that later. But this is brilliant. And now you're making money because people are paying you because you're serving them, as opposed to you trying to get them to serve you, right? So this is what I said. Don't go try and start build a team on your own if no one's yet actually willing to listen to you. Go join someone else's team. This is now being served. But there's a problem. This gets you into red level, but you can never get past red. Why? Because if you earn more money than you need, to you that doesn't feel like serving. To you it feels like you took too much, which means that you feel really guilty. So you go pair a new pair of shoes. You go on this holiday. You'll get rid of the extra money so you can still feel like you're serving the way you're meant to serve. So people at red level will sabotage any money extra that they're making because it doesn't allow them to get their self-worth, which is that I'm serving. It's like, oh, I must be taking advantage of people now. I've got too much, right? And that's what happens to many people at red level. They'll even diss other people. Those guys are greedy. They don't need that extra money, right? Like they're just all about the money, right? And then you're spending your whole time saying it's not about the money when it's all about the money because you can't afford anything, right? So that's what happens at red level. It's like, oh my gosh, that's what's happening to me. Well, how do I get out of this feeling? The answer is move to orange level, which is a whole different thing. Orange level is not connecting your wealth to, or your self-worth to serving, is connecting your self-worth to hard work. Yeah, hard work. It's about realizing if I'm working harder, I deserve that extra money. There are gurus out there right now saying just work harder, because there's red level people who want to figure out a way that they can actually feel better about themselves, and it's like, I'll just work harder as well. My dad went through his whole life at orange level, working hard. I remember coming back from school. I say, hey, Dad, how was work? Like Friday night, how's work? He goes, son, I had a good week. It was a good week. Well, what happened? I worked so hard. Yeah, but what happened? I worked so hard. That was it, right? He'd be looking at the people who actually weren't working so hard. They don't deserve social security. Like, they should go get a job. They should work as hard as I do, right? That's what happens at orange level, because you deserve more because you're working hard. Only problem with that, if that's where you're at and you are getting some extra, you can never get to yellow level because you're always going to have to work hard. And yellow level is not hard work anymore. You look at the yellow level people and say, they don't have to work so hard. They must be cheating, right? How do they get all that extra money, right? I'm here working harder than them, right? It's like, so you get to this point where you can't move up because the moment it starts getting easy, you fill up your to-do list so that you feel like you're working hard again, right? Because that's how you feel good. And if you get to the end of the day and you made money but you didn't work so hard, you feel guilty. So guilt will stop you from moving up to the next level. So how do you get to yellow level? You have to change from working hard to now what you connect your self-worth with is feeling special. Yellow level feels special. Like if I'm yellow level Roger and I'm there and I've got someone come to me and they go, hey Roger, I'd like to work with you. Did I do anything for this special opportunity? No, it's just I had a friend who really liked what you did and they told me, that's why I came to see you. If I'm yellow level Roger, I'd be like, I feel so special. This is so awesome, right? This is like great. I didn't have to do anything, right? And if I had to work really hard to get the business, I'm like, something's wrong here, right? Like this doesn't feel right. So the normal is now is that I feel special, which is great because it means you don't have to work so hard and your metrics have changed and you can be at your level, take a day off, go to the beach and still feel great about it and make all this extra money and start working smarter, which is brilliant. But you can never get out of there. Why? Because when that person comes and he's like saying, hey, Roger, can you do this? I said, of course I can do this. And now I've got more stuff I need to do, right? To keep feeling special. And by the way, this stops you from ever getting to green. I still remember like someone who came working with me on my crystal circle and she's like, Roger, I've heard this whole yellow green stuff. It's not so easy. Why? Because I can never find anyone who's as good as me. No one's as good as me at what I do, right? That's what happens at yellow level. It's like, I just can't, it's just not so easy. And I'm going, okay, well, maybe you're destined to just be the best at what you're doing forever and you're never going to have a team. I guess you're going to have to accept it. And she goes, I'm not willing to accept that. I said, well, then maybe we should talk again, right? But then, like one month, suddenly she ends up getting her sprained ankle or something. She's going, she's on the call. She's like, oh, this is terrible. I'm in the hospital. I can't even get out of the hospital now. They say I've got to stay here for a month. I go, really? She goes, yeah. Well, what about the team? It's like, well, the team say they can sort it out and fix it and everything, but I'm like, I'm just not so sure. What should I do? I said, you just relax. Everything will probably be okay. She goes, no, I'm really stressed out about it and so on. It's like, let's just see how it goes. A month later, she's out of the hospital. She's going back. I said, hey, so how did it go with the team? She goes, oh, well, actually, we had like our best month ever. They did really well. Like they just looked after the stuff without me. I didn't have to like take calls or anything. I was like quite surprised by that. I said, really? I go, yeah. I said, how do you feel? She goes, I feel terrible. I feel terrible. I don't feel like I'm needed anymore, right? It's like they're just getting on with it. But it's okay. I'm going back on Monday. We're going to sort it all out. It's like, what? Captain Underpants. So at yellow level, it's like you're constantly going in to prove that you're of worth. And then you realize like you're the one that's causing the issue, right? So how do you let go of feeling special to move up to the green level? Is to move from feeling special to having a special team. Where you actually get your worth when you get to the end of the day and they're the ones that got the credit. You get to the end of like when someone comes to me, yellow level Roger, oh, thank you so much. Yeah, I definitely can help you. Here's what I'll do. Green level Roger, oh, really? You came to me because of referral? That's super awesome. Oh, you want me to do that? I'm sorry, I can't. That's not my specialty. It's not what I do. Hey, but there's someone on my team who's brilliant at that. You should go see them, right? And I keep my time because there's someone else now who's better than me within that space. And that is what I get my self-worth from if I'm at green level, and that then lifts up that next level too. And so it goes on from special teams to special performers, but you get the idea. Every one of us unconsciously is holding on to something where every time we know intellectually we should move forward, emotionally we hold back and then we never move forward as a result. The answer to this is knowing we're human, right? And it all doesn't come back to what you're trying to hold on to, it's what you're attaching your self-worth to. And when you shift that, this is a huge aha moment for people. They realize that you can shift like that. And the moment you do that, everything else starts to move with you as well. Take a moment and share with the person next to you what was an insight you got just from that little sharing about what you're holding on to. Have a conversation. Okay, thank you. Thanks for sharing. So, question. A question for everyone. So, hands up who got some new aha or insight just from what I shared? Who got some aha or insight on that? Actually, this could be for you, but it also could be for someone in your family. It could also be for someone that you've been trying to advise for a long time who just never listens to what you have to say, and realizing that all around us, that it's all about realizing that we're holding ourselves to a level of consciousness for no good reason, and it's about how do we shift ourselves up to a high level as well, right? That's why getting the right mentoring, getting the right space is so important. Hands up who thinks this is all stuff, everything you've heard today, yesterday, is kind of essential stuff that, frankly, everyone should be learning at school. Who reckons that? Yeah? Right. All governments, yeah, right, large companies, right. So what we're going to do is I'm going to be inviting someone who is like super special within both our business and my life, because she has been on this journey with us for a decade now, and she has been the person that's been building our partnerships everywhere as well, for you to get an insight of how we're looking to take all this consciousness or ways of thinking about maps and bring it to the countries around the world. I think we've done a good job in places like Australia, good job in places like UK, one country by one country. Japan, we've done really good. Thailand, and actually bringing like a community around. We're just at the very beginning part of South Africa right now. So give you an insight of what our plans are over the next 10 years to really support the growth of the whole continent, get a bit of an insight. And when we actually get to the break, which is coming up shortly as well, you're going to have a chance, for those who'd like to consider being one of our partners, to stay behind and listen how we do our partnerships, right? So this isn't about being a customer, how do I actually become, use some of the products, is how do you actually become a partner that's earning money, to actually go out there and grow. And we have some really, really great success stories of people making multiple millions within a training company using our tools, and then us supporting them to go out there and actually have an impact on millions of people as well. So the first I'm going to ask to share a little bit of an insight, where we're going to talk about something called our partner pathway, which is this kind of step-by-step that we have here, is going to be Michelle Clark, all the way from Freckleton, England. Can we give Michelle a big round of applause? Oh, you've got such a big cheer. What's with that? Wow, that's amazing. Hi, good to see you. Good to see you. She's been waiting patiently because I've kind of gone over my time at the moment. Hey, by the way, can I ask a question for everyone? Because we've just added a whole bunch of extra things we weren't planning to add in at the moment, we were planning to finish at 5. Hands up who's okay if we kind of stretch on to 5:30. Yeah, you okay with that? Right? Okay, so let's do that. So don't rush too much to rush off at the end of the day. We really want to make the most of this. We have a super duper last couple of waves as well after the break. But we're going to, over the break, talk a little bit about the partnerships for those who are interested. I would love it, Michelle, for you to just share with everyone what you are most excited about when it comes to the current partnerships that's happening.
Oh my God, how am I going to pick one?
Yeah, I know. You're excited about everything all the time, right?
I do get excited about a lot of things all the time.
Out of all of them, what's the biggest thing you're most excited about? Which project?
The thing I'm most excited about right now is our mentors and their ability to create content on Genius U.
Okay.
I think that's one thing I'm super excited about. And the other thing that's kind of my next, I think, most exciting thing is the Genius School. So I don't know which one I want to talk about first.
That's cool. Okay. No, I didn't actually want to talk about it. I just wanted to say which they were.
Okay.
So let's go back to a conversation that we had maybe, 5 years ago or so on, when we were talking about how at yellow level, the most important thing is your customer pathway. How do you create a pathway for a customer to be a customer for life? At green level, the most important thing to think about is your talent pathway, which is both your team, but it's also your partners as well, and how that conversation led us to the partner pathway that we have today.
Yeah, so at that time, Talent Dynamics was a separate company. We were working on that together, but we'd set it up separately, and it was based in the UK. And I was kind of struggling with all of the stuff that needed to happen in Talent Dynamics because I needed more of a team around me. You had all experts in Entrepreneurs Institute, and we were separating Talent Dynamics and Wealth Dynamics, but people wanted to get trained in both. Right. So we brought the company together, and then I became the partnerships manager. And you said, look, why don't we create a partner pathway in the same way as we've got our customer pathway, where people can see exactly where they should be based on the level that they're at, and they can also see there's a whole journey that they can go with us as a partner. And in the same way you have a lifetime as a customer, you could have a lifetime as a partner. So we brought the Talent Dynamics and Wealth Dynamics together at that time, and everyone who was already trained in Talent Dynamics automatically got an accreditation in Wealth Dynamics as well. And they got to use
3 years?
It was 2.5, 3 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah, 2.5, 3 years ago.
So fast forward to where we are today, 3 years later. What's going on at each level? What kind of people do you have? What are they doing?
So that level 1 is for affiliates and resellers. So that's kind of a free level to join. So you can go and get an affiliate code. Like, for example, lots of people have come to Fast Forward today because somebody else invited them as an affiliate and had an affiliate code to get them to come along. So you can join for free to be an affiliate. And as a reseller, you can go and purchase like Wealth Dynamics tokens in bulk at wholesale and sell those on as well. So all that's pretty easy to do.
So that's a little bit like Amazon does the same thing. And if you don't have an affiliate program for your own business right now, I highly recommend you start it straight away, because you will have customers who do want to promote what you do, and some don't actually want to earn anything from that. They just want to, like, you know, kind of refer. But others are like, hey, this could be part of my business. I could link this in to my offering and then actually add your pieces in as well. It's the fastest, easiest way to grow. I mean, how many affiliates do we have right now?
We've got about 5,000. Like, it's not a small number of people around the world. And because we've got Wealth Dynamics and Talent Dynamics in all these different languages, we've got people all around the world who are affiliates and resellers as well. And they're purchasing and selling other programs. Like I said, filling our events. Pretty much 40% of our promotions are run by our affiliates, which is very good. So you definitely want to have somebody who's helping you support that.
Also online, like I was talking about, like when we put a Facebook ad, or Suraj was talking about how we do our advertising, but really like over 50% of everything comes in by our partners. Our affiliates just going out and telling their people about it as well, or packaging in with their things as well. So anyway, so that's the
first
step.
level.
But it's the one that like Google has it, Facebook have it, everyone has affiliate partnerships. It is the most important thing to build a community, not just for your customers, but a community of your partners. If you're at green level, that is. Second thing,
and some people are making a couple $100s a month. Some people are making several thousand a month in affiliate commissions, so it's not too shabby. And then we built the pathway based on the wealth spectrum, obviously. So we said, well, the second level would be flow consultant, and that's for somebody who's in the foundation prism. Maybe they don't have their own company yet; they want to set one up. Maybe they're already a coach, trainer, consultant, but they're looking at ways that they can take on other products and use those with their clients. So we gave them an accreditation to use Wealth Dynamics and Talent Dynamics and to do debriefs. So when you took your profile test and you read it, and it's great because now Roger's explaining it to you, but mostly you're sitting at home reading your profile test. When you can have someone sit down and go through what your test means and how you get into flow, that's what a flow consultant can do. They're accredited to do that, right? And those guys,
just a bit like this morning when I was like, oh, this is what this means and so on. You learn.
You do that. You do all that.
But you can do it online, right?
You can do it wherever you want. I mean, we've got them doing it all virtually all around the world now. But a flow consultant typically would earn between $12,000 and $25,000 a year of additional revenue just by adding flow consultant into their coaching. So that's so we have like a set target we want people to generate as well.
Here in South Africa, like, how does it compare people earning in South Africa compared to, other countries around the world? Do you reckon? Is it different or pretty similar?
Well, it's a little bit less because of the rand value to the dollar, but in terms of like how successful they're being in South Africa, definitely.
Right.
Like they're still being successful. I mean, Jane was telling me an amazing story this morning about what she's doing in Magnetic Storm, having used the flow consultancy in her own company, and how that's like turning around the whole productivity, the whole flow of what they're doing in their business, and is going to double their turnover in this next 6 months. Like, so that you can actually charge a lot for your consulting when you're getting those kind of results.
So a lot of companies will have, and this is part of the partner side, I think is really important. Like if you think about your product and what you're doing to have someone that can go out and use your product as well. If we thought of something like Wealth Dynamics as just a product, then you'd just be saying, oh, just add this product to your product. But because we think of it as a customer intelligence tool, which means if you know someone's a dynamo who actually has a purpose for education, then it changes what you're going to, guide that person on with all your products, whether it's training or whatever it is. So we actually say, hey, use this as a tool. So then you can go see their profile on GeniusU, see all their information and go, oh, I'm going to give you personalized learning now without having to go get them to go all through the same process themselves as well.
And of course, since we did the integration a few years ago, we've now got the Health Dynamics profile test. We've got Talent Dynamics for young people. And next month, we're launching Wealth Dynamics for real estate investors. So we've got that continually adding new niche profile tests that people can use as flow consultants as well, and they just get different certifications in different levels.
Now, those aren't things we're doing. Those are things that our partners are doing higher up, right?
At the top level. So the third level is the performance consultant, and that's for someone who's at the yellow level already and has an existing training company or an existing consulting company. So they're probably making, like 70 to 100K a year already, but they're pretty much their focus is as a training company. And so we expect those people to make more revenue and to run programs. So we teach them how to do 1 and 2 day training programs with companies. So everything you've been teaching here, we get them to go into actual companies and implement that. And typically, if you're a performance consultant and you're running a 1 day workshop, you're rating yourself out at like $5,000 for the day to actually do that. The company that goes through the program, let's say they have 10 or 12 people on the workshop, that company is almost guaranteed to make at least $150,000 revenue additional within the next 12 months by putting that team through. And those are results we just see consistently all the time. So performance consultant level, we're expecting you to make between 25 and like $150,000 additional revenue. So, but it's at the higher level now. And then
can I just share something about this? Hands up, who's already in like training or consulting of some sort? Who's already doing something like that?
Quite a few.
Yeah. So just one thing I want to share, which is a real important distinction about how it is that like Michelle as a supporter profile is rolling off all these numbers, right? Like why is this? It's because there's a huge difference between selling a product which is of retail value, which means someone spent the money, like I bought a new pair of shoes, I bought a dinner, compared to wholesale value, which is an investment. It's a return on investment, like selling, buying a house. The reason it's so important is most people who are selling training are selling training as retail value, which means when you go to someone and says, my training costs $10,000, someone's thinking, can I afford to spend $10,000 on this training, right? That's what they're thinking. Whereas if you turn it into return on investment, where it's like, oh, I just did this $10,000 training and I'm going to make $100,000 now. I'm going to make 10 times back. Now, people don't figure that stuff on their own. You've got to help them figure that out. So at the first level, which is the debrief, when there's a debrief, which is like, all right, so what's your business right now? What's happening? You found you're a creator. Like, what's the challenge you've got right now that if you could solve that would be worth like 10, 20, oh, well, if I could actually find a way to get my sales team together, like that would be worth $50,000, that would be worth $100,000 for me. What, over the next 3 months? Yeah. Okay, well, let's talk about that then. So you've actually got them to quantify something that they can actually go do. That's part of the training. We train you how to do that. So then when they go, holy cow, I definitely want the workshop. I want to, like, it's worth it because it's going to cost 10,000, that's 100,000. And then at the workshop, same thing, the team get together. What's a really big issue you have in the company? Well, how much would that be worth to you if you solved it, right? And you have the number. So by the end of the actual session, everyone said, we just have a plan now to make that much extra money. We're going to tell the boss, right? We're going to go out and show them this and go, how much did you pay for this training? It's like, oh, it's like 5% of what we're actually making. Let's do more training. So your ability to change the way you're thinking about training so that people are just booking you in is all part and parcel of this as well.
Yeah, that's very important. Then the top level, which is global partner, and Roger shared earlier on about Joe Formosa, who is one of our global partners, who's now created Health Dynamics. So when you get to the very top level, now you're sort of like at the green level, looking to go blue level. And this is for people who say, well, we're using your products and programs already, so they're already using Wealth Dynamics or Talent Dynamics or something, and they can see that there's a niche that they could co-create with us. So Jo came to us and said she had all the 10 body types that she could see within the Ayurvedic medicine, and Jo's a super expert in Ayurveda, Chinese medicine, like she's really, really well renowned in her profession in Australia. And she said, I can see how this fits in with the 8 profiles. And we sat down and you kind of like downloaded all this stuff and we went, here's like how Health Dynamics could actually be a program which would be so different to other Ayurvedic programs, because now if you knew that as a creator, you had a particular body type and there was a total way that you should exercise and eat and take care of yourself, which is just different to knowing your body type. And so we created 80 profiles from doing that. And we've had hundreds and hundreds of people go through that. Jo's just now successfully run her first Health Dynamics retreat out in Bali. She's now planning to do a $4 million business in this next year, working with us. And she's now running that and making that happen. So, and there's lots of people keep coming to us with different ideas.
So if you ever have people coming to you saying, can I be your partner? You can end up spending a lot of time with the wrong people trying to figure out how do I be a partner of this person. If you have a customer path, a partner pathway, you can say, well, look, yeah, maybe we can be a partner, but just try this first. Because if someone can't prove themselves at the base level, they're not going to be the right person either at that level too. So it makes it really easy. And this is, again, all the largest companies do this. They say, oh, we've got a partner program, go join that, as opposed to how do we become your partner. So if you're at that point in your business, which is like, I just got to build partnerships now, start with a partner pathway. So thank you for sharing that and how that works. One thing as well, in terms of what we're doing at the Genius U conference, which is happening in February, it's the first time. We ran the first conference last year. It was really more just our programs that what we do here. This year it's all changed because we have so many of these global partners that have come in. We're going to have the Genius School that's going to be represented there by the team. We're going to have, Wealth Dynamics for property investors. We've got Wealth Dynamics, Talent Dynamics for recruitment, Talent Dynamics for sales, like all these different niches where we then have all of the consultants coming on board and then joining the right niche. We have some who'll be, I'm going to work with corporates, but also with kids. I'm going to work with health, but I'm also going to be working, with like Wealth Dynamics. So you get to choose which are the tools you want to use, and you're building. So we're a network of networks. Each network or community is actually a different, focus, and that's really, for me, this is like Disneyland for adults, right? It's kind of like I get to decide, am I going to Futureland, Adventureland, where am I going, and then you actually then can create a whole life around this as well, right? So for those, so if someone decides they want to stay behind at the break, what kind of people should stay behind?
Yeah, so if you're already a coach or a trainer or a consultant or an educator, definitely stay behind. If you're a line manager that has a big team as well and you want to see how you can use this with your team, or equally if you're someone who's like sat here going, I just wish I knew what my business was, I want to get started, I want to create something, it's pretty much a business in a box that's extremely low price. So if you're in any of those categories, then definitely stay behind.
So here's what we're going to do right now. We have a 30-minute break. It's our final break of the day. So this is what's going to happen. Really make the most of this break. If you don't see that being you and you don't see yourself being one of our partners, do make the most of not just looking at the opportunities, but connect with at least a couple of people you haven't connected with yet and find out how you can be of value to them. And at the same time, make sure when you come back after the break, you're in a new seat with some new people. For those who are going to be staying behind, can I see a show of hands who is interested in finding out about how we run our partnerships? And okay, we've got quite a few people. So those who are interested in being one of our partners, come to one of the front tables, and then we'll have a conversation with you as well. Thank you, Michelle. Can we give Michelle a big round of applause? Thank you. All right, 30 minutes. We're back in here at 20 past. 20 past. All righty. All right, so if you're joining us, if the team can help just bring people into the front tables here, grab yourself a seat, and we'll kind of like take it to the seat here. If there's anyone having a chat or anything, you can have a chat outside if you're not part of the partnership conversation, and we'll see you again shortly. Awesome. If we could have some of the crew organizing the doors as well, that would be super cool. So we'll be just closing up on the doors. Oh, wow, cool day outside as well. Fabulous. And just while we are getting everyone organized, do we have a microphone at the front here at the moment? Okay, awesome. I would love to hear from just a few of you what kind of training or what kind of consulting that you're doing right now. Like, so we get a bit of an idea. Would anyone like to share so we get an idea who we have here? What kind of like business or interest you have in consulting or training? Here, we have a hand up at the front. Yeah, we've got some new faces here. There you go, microphone's right there. And your name is?
Tizri.
Tizri. Can we give Tizri a round of applause? All right, fabulous.
I'm a chef.
You're a chef?
Yes.
Okay.
So I'm trying to get in the business. I want to open my own restaurant soon. But my biggest struggle is this starting point. Because last I was telling you that I took a test like in 2015. I was in yellow. And now I'm in the infrared. So I don't know where to start.
But you're a chef, but you can see yourself getting into consulting training in some way?
Yes, that's more. I want to open a culinary. My dream is to open a culinary school one day.
Oh, okay, there you go, right? Yeah. And there's ways you can do that very easily. Like cooking is one of the biggest things. Like, you can have your own channel on YouTube. You can actually grow. Like, so how you do that in a really effective way,
yes,
we can be talking a bit about that. Who else would like to share? Anyone else on this table or one of the other tables? We have a lady here. We'll just like take three so we get a bit of an idea.
Hi, I'm Myrna de Hart. I've got an entrepreneurial development consultancy.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yes, and I created a program for youth, for rural girls that I won.
Oh, really?
Money from the ILO to. But instead of reinvent the wheel, maybe we can partner up with
That's fantastic.
Youth Genius.
That's awesome. School. Very, very cool. All right, thank you for sharing that. Let's give her a round of applause as well. I love that story. And like to share?
Hi, I'm Anna-Marie Ross-Verveer. I've got my own I'm a business coach and a life coach, and my focus is on healthcare practitioners. So I help occupational therapists, doctors, etc., grow their businesses as well.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, and I think this would be such a nice structured way to take the sort of thumb suck out of, you know, how to build your business.
Absolutely.
I think this is a very nice structured way. Yes.
Definitely, very, very cool. Thank you. Let's give her a round of applause as well. Thank you. I know everyone's got a story, and I know there's some super awesome people here. So what I'm about to do is I'm about to hand it over to Michelle to just give you an example of what it is that we're doing. Just to be really focused, we just talked about the whole pathway. What we're going to be talking about right now is just entering the pathway, right? Just coming on board at the flow consultant level. Like, even if you want to be a global partner, you want to do more, like take that first step, because it's really a bite-sized step. It's very affordable. It's very easy to be a part of. And then from being part of that, we have our Juniors U conference coming up. And for everyone who decides right now today you want to be a part of this, we're going to make sure that conference, people are paying to come to the conference, right? We're just going to give you a free spot to come because you're here in Johannesburg already. And then you'll meet all of that other people from around the world who are coming in, all sharing and learning from each other, plus all the initiatives you heard about, what Joe's doing, what Angie's doing with Genius School. They're all going to be here as well. So for us, it's like a super highlight at the beginning of the year. We'd love you to be part of that too. So think about, should I be part of that group or not? I'll tell you about the pricing, all of that kind of stuff. But first, what do you get if you actually join? Handing it over to Michelle. Can we give Michelle another round of applause?
Thank you. Thank you. All right, so yeah, the flow consultant is very much the entry level. So, and whatever level you want to be at, you need to do flow consultant because it's like a basic training as well for everything else. So when you come on board as a flow consultant, we're going to actually give you a micro degree on Genius U to complete. And what you're going to do is you're going to learn about the wealth dynamics and the talent dynamics profiles. By the way, there's a difference. I don't know if everyone knows the difference, but you've all taken the wealth dynamics profile test, which is specifically for entrepreneurs. So it teaches you how do you create the most wealth. Talent dynamics is for teams and organizations and corporates. Now, when you take the test, you come out as the same profile, but the articulation in the report is very different. So mainly because the company said, when we showed them wealth dynamics, they said, this is great, but if you give this to people, they'll all leave and set up their own companies, which wasn't going to help them. So with talent dynamics, it talks about where's the value that you add in the team and how do you build trust and flow within that team. So it's a different articulation. The same with the other profile tests. If you do talent dynamics for young people, if you do wealth dynamics for real estate investors, you still come out as the creator or the Lord, but there's a different articulation to explain that. So you're going to learn about wealth dynamics and talent dynamics specifically. And we're going to teach you how you run a really high-value, high-impact profile debrief with somebody. So you're going to go through all the 8 profiles, learn about the frequencies, and we're going to show you, like, what do you actually need to structure in the space of an hour to get somebody really in flow. And, like, we know that you can have a really high return on investment just by spending 1 hour with somebody going through their profile test. I'll give you an example. I did a profile debrief with one of the senior sales directors at a bank in Australia. And at the time, he was responsible for bringing in like $13 million of revenue in his team. And he found out he was a star profile. And we went through the profile test, and I was looking at how much time he was spending in his flow as a star, and it was about 40 to 50% of his time. The rest of the time, he was spending doing activities that would much more suit an accumulator profile, like doing the project managing, like getting into all the detail. So we created a job profile for someone who was an accumulator, which was like a $40,000, $50,000 salary for that person, for him to put that person in place, which meant that he was able to take the revenue to 21 million in the space of a year. Yeah, I know, it's pretty impressive, right? Nearly got a woo. Now, that's the kind of impact you can have when you're working with the large corporates in the space of an hour. Even when you're working with wealth dynamics with an entrepreneur who's in a startup, in the space of an hour, you're going to be able to show them a way that they can find at least $5,000 to $10,000 of revenue that they didn't even know existed in their business just by getting into flow and understanding their profile. So we'll put you through the micro degree. It's about 2 days worth of content. So you could decide to come on board today. You could be fully trained by Wednesday, get your certificate on Genius U so you can start actually using the profile test and actually working with clients straight away. And I'll just show you then what happens on Genius U once you get onto that, once you've done your micro degree. So this here is Sajid Siddiqui. He's in the UK, and he joined us as a flow consultant last year. So the minute you become a consultant, you become a mentor on Genius U as well. And I know Roger shared about this and Suraj did, but you get your mentor status. So he's actually showing as a consultant, he's doing our EMC as well, our entrepreneur mentor certification. And Sarge wasn't really sure what he wanted to do as a flow consultant. He didn't exactly know what he was going to spend his time doing. But his background is very much technical. So he was like building apps and things. He's quite like a geek and he really understands systems. He was using Genius U really well. And he saw that there was a lot of people who were asking questions about how to use Genius U. So he set up this circle. It's called How to Use Genius U, right? It's pretty straight, it's pretty good. Now, what's really interesting, he just set this up himself. We didn't approach him to do that, but all of a sudden, people found this circle called How to Use Genius U, and they got super excited. Next thing, he has like 1,296 members in his circle, right? And so he's still got more people requesting to join right now. These are all people that want help with Genius U. So he called me up and he said, Michelle, what do I do now? I've got 1,300 people in my circle. So now I've got all this value. How do I leverage it? And I said to him, well, who's the kind of customer that you're finding is in your circle? What's the avatar? He said, there's typically people who are orange level trying to get to yellow. And I said, well, do you have a program to support them to go from orange to yellow? He said, no. He said, but you do. I said, well, you're a mentor. You can do that. So he put together a program. And he's now got this other circle here, which is called Accelerate from Orange to Solid Yellow, right? So he's got another circle here. And he just shared this in his Genius U circle. And all of a sudden, in the space of 4 weeks, he had 363 people join his circle. Now, those are people in his avatar. They're people who are orange level wanting to get to yellow. So then he called me and said, Michelle, I've got 360 people in my circle. What do I do now? I said, well, now you've got a product, right? And you've got people who are interested. So why don't you start running some webinars and doing some live events in Genius U? So you can actually, as a mentor, run webinars within Genius U. You can do events. You can set up the events and invite people along. So this is what he did. So he's setting up all these events. In fact, he had a few that he was running just this last week. He's been doing about 4 or 5 events. So he's got business walkthrough, where you are on the impact meter, promotional plan, how to do a business plan. He's just using all of our content that we've trained him in, and now he's using it to share with everyone else. And he said, Michelle, I'm getting 20 or so people showing up every time. I said, what do I do now? I said, now then you want to offer them to have a call with you. And so he got people booking into calls with him just last week. He sold, out of 4 people who booked calls with him last week, 3 people spent £1,500 with him. That's like what, a couple of $1,000s? So he made $5,000 just in 1 week last week as a result of using Genius U. He said, I've never had a way that I could find clients ever in my life before, and this was like his first sales. He's so excited, he's going to fill 10 spots in this next 2 weeks. Now, Roger doesn't even know this, but Roger, you might recognize this. This is the impact meter that you created a few weeks ago.
He's teaching it before I am.
Which you haven't even shared yet. So Roger's going to be sharing the impact meter with people at our upcoming workshops. But because Sarge is on the inside, because he's one of our consultants, he's seen Roger sharing this within the community. He said, Michelle, I've started using it as part of my sales process, getting people to identify where they are on the impact meter, and then showing them how they can actually grow. And then they join straight away. So I said, well, why don't you run a live on the impact meter? So he's already running. I said, just make sure you're accrediting Roger to. But the point is, you can use all of our content, all of our training. If you're accredited, we want you to use the stuff that we have and for you to make it your own as well. So very easy for you to start using Genius U. We've got over 800,000 people in there. It's growing by 1,000 a week. Guaranteed, when you find what's of value that you can share with others, you're going to find clients coming to you too.
Very cool. Can we give Michelle a round of applause for that? That's super awesome. So this is a great example of how using the tools, right? And by the way, like, you know, when someone joins Flow Consultant, can you just talk through how, like how do they do the actual certification? Yeah, so the micro degree is on Genius U. So we give you just have to set up your profile on Genius U, and the whole thing is done online. There's a series of videos, there's workbooks, there's playbooks. You can upload a recording of your debrief. It's very straightforward. And then the moment you've done it and you finished it, you then get the badge, which says you're now certified. And then you can start working with clients straight away. You join our Facebook group. We have webinars every month where we're doing one training continuously. And then people can then find you really easily because, like, you know, when people go to the top, and again, this is all when they can talk straight to Genie, but at this point, you can just go straight into the mentor section. And in the mentor section, you can see all the mentors. You can see what their speciality. Location search means you can find someone close, like I'm in Johannesburg, I'm in Cape Town, and you can see that, you know, you get rankings based on, you know, basically what, like how many, you know, like referrals you're getting and so on, and all these different people, many of who I haven't actually ever met, right? And they've actually got like all of this really good stuff they're doing to share it on with other people as well. Those who then decide that from here you want to then become a Genius School educator or want to become, you know, like specialist within a particular other tool that one of our global partners is doing, then it's like just a $500 upgrade to be able to do that, right? We you can add as many certifications as you want or just choose one niche. Yeah. Okay, so we'll talk about the pricing on the certification in a moment, right? And we'll get the right people on board who says, I can tell you the value of this, I'd like to be a part of it. Let's just open it up, first of all, to a few questions, right? So who would have a question for myself and Michelle about how it works? We'll bring a microphone to the front here as well.
Thank you. Michelle, sorry, I just missed. Is there an entry level for doing the Flow Consultant course? Or
that is the entry level. The Flow Consultant is the entry level, yeah.
You mean
okay,
criteria?
but I mean on either of the levels.
Oh, in terms of like criteria of where you're at?
Yes.
Like, can someone at infrared level come and join?
It's ideal for someone in the foundation prism because we show you step by step how you actually go out and find your clients, how you actually get set up on here. So like Tracy runs a webinar. You've seen Tracy running around this week. She runs a webinar setting you up how to put your circle together. How do you actually start finding people to join your circle? How do you link that to being a mentor, your profile? So all those things we walk through. And every month we have training, which is a live business development training webinar. And the consultants are all sharing great ideas with each other all the time as well.
I will say one thing though. I mean, because yes, you've heard this, go get connected to where there's a game where you can join the team. So this is a really good thing for someone who's like, I just got to, I don't want to figure it all out for myself. I want to tap in. Saji was like infrared before he joined,
He
right?
was making no money and hadn't for 6 months.
But I want to make a distinction as well about the difference of a training organization compared to a training community. If you join a training organization, whether it's like being one of like 1,000 trainers, or even like you think about an agency, like being an insurance agent or a real estate agent, they pretty much want you all to be the same, where the company is more important than you are. Within a community, we want everyone to be different. We want everyone to be unique. We want everyone to have their own brand because then you add more value than someone just coming straight to us, right? Because you're specifically for someone in Cape Town, or you're specifically for women leaders in Durban, wherever it is. And so we then support you, just like Saji's got himself, like something where if someone else comes along and says, I want to do exactly the same, we're like, why would you do that? Do something different, right? Because then people can then find you for your uniqueness. And that's what makes the whole thing work, because then people then refer people to each other to say, yeah, I could work with you, but that person's better, and then they get referrals coming back as well. So we'll help you to build your identity, and that's all part and parcel of what happens when you come on board. Do you want to share also when someone joins, it's more than just getting this information. You do run ongoing like webinars and we have a group.
Yeah, every month we've got live webinars, and every month we're focusing at either how to put a promotion plan together or who's your customer avatar, what's your niche. So we're taking people through that all the time and answering questions on that. So we don't just give you the training and let you get on with it. There's constant support that's happening.
Awesome. Another question?
Thank you.
Okay, we've got some questions right behind you.
Hi, it's Angus. What would a flow consultant typically charge?
Hi, Angus. So, so the recommended retail price that we say is if you're doing a profile and a debrief is $300. But we've got some consultants who are charging that. We've got some who are charging like $1,000 for their time. And the more successful you are with your clients, the better return on investment you're getting, the more you can charge for your time as well.
Some people package in, like, because you get a series of tokens every month as well. So some people go, you know what, I'm just going to package this in, or even just do a free one, knowing that when I do a free session and they've actually used the token and we find out what the profile is, then they want to do more things with me. And then I don't have to sell it for $300. I'll do it for free, but I know off the back of it, they'll then want to buy my $1,000 program, right? Or the $1,500 program. So that also, we show you the different models, and it's always evolving and changing. So we'll actually have the people that are doing really well come up and say, here's what I figured out, right? Here's how I'm doing it. It's like, oh, I could do that too. So you're always learning from the best within this really is a learning network. Yeah. We had another question on the same, let's come around to those two questions. We'll take like 3 or 4 more questions so everyone gets a bit of a chance.
So yeah, I'm an accountant, but you were talking about adding value, not looking back, because that's obviously the dying trade. So is there a model for an accountant? Because this would be a way to add value to your client, and you teach them, and you go.
We've got about 4 or 5 clients who are not just flow consultants, but have actually stepped up to performance consultant. Jeremy Harris in Brisbane, very good example, very successful accountant in Brisbane, and he came on board. Quite a few of them joined as flow consultants because when you know your client's profile, you can actually see what their risk strategy is. You can see like how much you can help them with their business, and actually helping to give them a strategy to get their business to grow. Obviously means they're going to make more money and pay you more fees. So the accountants have been doing that, but Jeremy actually became a performance consultant as well, and then he used that within his own accountancy and turned the entire company around himself. And talent dynamics for accountants is a niche that we're looking to grow right now.
Well, what he's done with Deborah, so they have an accounting company where they're like, right, we're going to change everything we're doing here. He's created a micro degree, which is called Cash Flowers. Cash flow is specifically around 5 metrics within your business that if you tweak them, could double, quadruple your cash. That's all going live, and he's looking for then other flow consultants that can work with him in other countries. He's based in Australia, to then roll it out. So it's perfect, right? I mean, like, and that's a perfect example of someone already ahead of the curve that's looking for the right partners to then work with as well. Yeah. Yes.
Hi. Good afternoon. My name is Grace. I just want to find out, would the program be suitable for me? Because the group that I'm looking at is actually young children, young boys in the foundation phase. I'm looking for a mindset development program. So is this for like corporates or people that are already in the working or entrepreneurial space?
What age are the young people?
Sorry?
What ages are the young people that you're working with?
I'm looking for, we are looking at 7 to 13 years.
Great.
Yes.
So has anyone heard of Talent Dynamics for young people? Nobody has. Wow. So okay, guys, you guys have. Of course you have. So when you've taken the profile test, if you knew that there was a profile test that Roger already created several years ago, which is for young people, it's specifically for 9 to 16-year-olds. Right? So they can actually take their profile test from the age of 9 and find out what profile they are. And in the report, instead of saying you're like Richard Branson, it says you're like Luke Skywalker or you're like one of the Friends characters, right? So it's really groovy. And we've actually got now the Genius Educator certification, which is brand new, which is part of our Genius School. So anyone who's working with young people, you do the Flow Consultant and you do the Genius Educator certification. That means you can now create content for young people, which will be added into the Genius School and be used globally.
Yeah. It's super awesome. Yeah. So the answer is yes, because like it's the next generation that we want to be supporting as well. Yeah, it's very cool. All right, we'll take one more question. We had a hand up over there, so we'll take a final question, right? So yeah.
Hi, I'm Peter. I used to be in the travel agency, but now I'm a freelance tour guide. How does that affect to actually be able to help you guys?
You mean as a partner or as a flow consultant?
As a flow consultant plus partner.
Yeah. Are you looking to now become a consultant? So actually do like coaching and training with people as opposed to the travel agency?
More on the freelance tour guide.
Can I answer that?
Yeah.
So one of the most important things about what you get out of Wealth Dynamics isn't just self-awareness. It's not just like internal awareness, it's external awareness. It's like understanding other people as well. Right, everything's going personalized, like even including tours as well. Right, having the ability to actually get a sense. Well, you know, is this person I'm coming up with someone who's more adventure-driven? Right, is this someone who's kind of like more risk-averse? Like to really give people a way to have a personalized experience themselves is the way the whole travel industry is already going that way. Right, so by coming on board and seeing how different people are personalizing using our tools, because it's all about personalization, everything we're doing. By seeing that, it's going to allow you to actually start saying, you know what, you could definitely be one of the kind of like leading kind of bespoke travel companies that isn't just like a one-size-fits-all for everyone, but is actually giving them the ability to kind of like put their profile together, come up with their ideas. You could be using, and this isn't just about Wealth Dynamics, you can be using passion, like, passion tests, like what are your real passions, right? It's like, what's your real purpose? And then you can then link that to then someone going, this is so awesome, I get to actually get what the things are I should do based on that as well. So I think you could really build it that way. That then gives you a uniqueness in what you do as a company brand, which you don't have yet. It's you. Then there's no company. If that was a uniqueness of a company brand, you'd have other travel agents and people saying, we want to work with you too. And then that's how you then expand and grow, because you create a uniqueness at the product level, right? Which is what's missing right now. And I think for each of you, that's one of the big things about it's not just about you've got some extra products. You've got that ability to personalize now using all of our tools, right? So that we can actually support you with that. And our 3 million pixeled audience, our network leverage on, right? To actually know that they can also be tuning into those 3 million pixeled audiences, which is growing by like 25,000 a week at the moment, or 100,000 a month, that's growing at that pace. So effectively, it's like Amazon. You get to, you're going to use all the systems of Amazon for your store. Here, you get to use all the systems of Genius U for your training, right? Which is really, really, no one else does that, which is why it's growing so fast right now. Okay, we take final question. Yes.
I'm Debbie Evans, and I've been in education for a very long time, and I'm looking at the customer now, not myself and what I can offer.
Sure.
But in South African schools, the need is, as we've heard, to be taught to think rather than a rote learning kind of a curriculum. So I'm a curriculum specialist, materials developer, and I teach creative and critical thinking from early years right through to post-secondary. But the thing is that I don't think it won't get into the curriculum as a subject. And I think it's something that has to be done, and we need to think of ways of doing that. So I just thought I'm much more interested in your genius education side of things, and not the consulting, although I'm an education specialized consultant.
It's linked because once you do that, then you add those extra pieces in, right?
And I'm not a trainer of, I'm a trainer of trainers in early childhood development, but I go across the whole spectrum.
Sure.
But I need to just see how I could maybe contribute globally, because I've been to a lot of international thinking conferences.
Let me ask you a question, which is, do you have a question?
That was my question, is would this be something that would be needed?
Yes.
Not only in South African education,
yes,
but in the, what you call it, at the genius school, because I don't know anything about that yet.
Yes. The answer is yes. We are creating our own curriculum. But it's a globally recognized curriculum because it's all the entrepreneurs around the world. The biggest issue that parents have is, if I join a new curriculum, is there any actual guarantee my kids are going to be okay in life, right? Or am I kind of going on some wacko new kind of new age curriculum that no one's even going to recognize, right? But because we're supported with the largest entrepreneur network in the world, we have these apprentice programs where we're helping those who have entrepreneurial skills to be able to grow. We've got all the best people coming in to create that curriculum as we go as well. And we have such an amazing opportunity now to just rethink what it is that kids have to go through, so they don't have to just go to university or go get a job, but they can actually be entrepreneurial. And if they want to go do those things, they can as well, but that they actually coming from a point of view where they're actually a self-aware young leader. How do we make that happen? That's what we're focusing on supporting right now. Right? We're done with the conversation where you've got to change the education system. We're now in the doing, right? And that's where we're at. So anyone who's a curriculum designer, who's actually already got a school, anyone, we got all of them already joining each other and then connecting up and supporting. We'd love to have you be part of it as well, right? Okay, so here's what I'm going to do right now, because we have kind of run out of time, is that I do want to make sure that those of you here who really like the idea of this have an opportunity to come on board right now. Really, really simple. If you go, okay, I really like the idea of this, I want to be a part of this, I will give you one of these sheets. The team will get with you. While we're starting the next session, it's okay, you can still be sitting down, organizing all the information with them as well. Gives you an opportunity to come on board. They'll walk through with you the pack. You get yourself signed up to be a part of this. You join straight away. We'll be getting you basically onboarded with all the information you need, and you can already be starting to, this next week, go through the certification program and meet everyone within our whole network of flow consultants. How many flow consultants we have right now around the world?
Oh, about 600.
So you've got 600 people that you're going to get connected in. Just a super awesome group of people that are part of this as well. And we'll give you all the details for the Genius U conference next year. So we'll be seeing you back in February, where you'll be actually at that as well, just meeting up with the most incredible group of partners all over the world. So with that being what it is, before I just tell you the price point, because I think it's a bit of a silly price point, but before I do that to you, hands up who would love to join this if it was free of charge? Cost you nothing. Okay, all right, okay. All right, so just checking your availability. No, so what we've done is we've basically done this in a way where there is a charge, obviously, because there's training involved, but we want to make sure we're doing a give back as well. So the price to join this is $1,500, right? That's to be a flow consultant. You get a full 1 year's license, right? And then there's kind of a renewal that you do, $1,500, but with that comes 25
tokens, which is just $2,500 worth of product straight away.
So you're already getting $2,500 worth of tokens for the $1,500, plus you're getting all the certification, plus you're getting all the training, and then we really do expect that you're going to be making,